He finished his bowl. You saw it. It was empty, and 30 seconds later he had his nose in the other dog's food. You separated them. You said something. Maybe you started feeding them in different rooms, and the next meal, same thing. Everyone calls this greediness, bad manners. A dog that just has no limits. I'm going to tell you what's actually happening, and why the way you've been trying to fix it is making it last longer than it needs to. The most common explanation that crosses your mind is, he's still hungry, or he's just naturally greedy, or he never learned that the other dog's food isn't his, and it makes sense. It's what it looks like from the outside. The problem is, that explanation leads to solutions that don't work because they treat the symptom and completely ignore what's actually causing the behavior. Owners who separate the bowls in different rooms usually notice the behavior disappears for a few days and comes back. Owners who increase the portion of the dog that steals notice he keeps stealing even after eating more. Owners who correct vocally every time it happens notice the dog obeys in the moment and does the exact same thing at the next meal. If the real reason was hunger, then more food would fix it. It doesn't. If it was bad manners, consistent correction would fix it. It doesn't. Not completely. Because this behavior doesn't come from hunger. It comes from something happening between the two dogs, and the food is just making it visible. Let's start with what canine behavioral science calls resource guarding. Not in the extreme version you might have heard, of the dog that growls when you approach his bowl. That's the visible end of the spectrum. What we're talking about here is the social version of the same instinct. In pack environments, resources aren't just food. They're space, attention, access. And control over those resources, including the other dog's food, is a way of communicating position within the hierarchy. Now here's what changes when you understand this. You stop treating the dog that steals as the villain of the story. He's not being badly behaved. He's being a dog inside a structure that hasn't been clearly defined for him yet. And the dog being stolen from is also communicating something. Every time he steps back, every time he lets it happen, he's confirming a structure that puts him at a disadvantage. Neither of them is wrong. They're both just following rules that were never clearly set. But if it's not hunger and it's not bad manners, what's actually generating this? The answer is in something that happened long before the first time he ever stole. When two dogs start living together, they go through a period of social negotiation. Who sleeps where? Who goes through the door first? Who gets the lap? Who eats first? In most domestic packs, this negotiation happens quietly and reaches a balance both dogs accept. You rarely see it happen because it's subtle. Half-second glances, body positioning, gestures you'd miss if you blinked. The problem is when that balance never fully establishes. When one dog keeps testing not out of aggression, but because the rules still aren't clear to him, and mealtime is the moment of greatest social clarity in a pack's day. It's when resources are most concrete, most visible, most contestable. The dog that finishes his bowl and walks over to the other dog's food isn't necessarily still hungry. He's making a claim. He's saying, I have access to this. And as long as the other dog accepts that claim, gets confirmed every single night. That's why separating the bowls doesn't fix the core problem. You removed the stage, but you didn't change what's happening between them. And that's what makes this behavior so persistent. It's not a training problem, it's a structure problem. And structure doesn't respond to correction, it responds to clarity. So what does that clarity actually look like? There are 3 adjustments, and all 3 happen before any food ever hits the floor. The solution starts with a shift in perspective. You're not trying to punish the stealing behavior. You're trying to establish a clear enough structure that stealing becomes unnecessary. 3 practical adjustments. All of them happen before the meal begins. First, feed both dogs at the same time, in fixed positions, always the same spots. Not opposite sides of the kitchen-specific positions where each dog knows exactly where he stands. This reduces the spatial ambiguity that feeds the testing behavior. Second, make both dogs sit and wait before you release the food. Not one at a time, both together. Same signal, same moment. This communicates something important. The meal starts when you decide, not when they decide. And it starts equal for both. This doesn't level the hierarchy between them, but it places you clearly above it. Third, and this is the most important one, when one dog finishes before the other, don't wait for the stealing to happen to correct it. The moment he finishes his bowl, remove the empty bowl from the floor and redirect his attention, a command, a treat, a toy. You're filling the gap before the testing behavior fills it on its own. These 3 adjustments together don't solve the behavior in a day. They solve it in weeks because you're changing the structure, not just reacting to the symptom. And that's the difference. Reactive correction teaches a dog to stop when you're watching. Clear structure teaches a dog there's no reason to start. The dog stealing the other's food isn't trying to irritate you. He's not greedy. He's not badly raised. He's navigating in an environment where the rules of access aren't completely clear yet, and he's using mealtime, the highest resource moment of the day, to keep testing where the limits are. When you change the structure around the meal, you're not just solving the stealing. You're communicating something both dogs need to hear. The rules here are set. There's nothing left to test. And when that lands for both of them, dinner stops being a negotiation and starts being what it was always supposed to be. 3 minutes of peace. Every day. That's possible. And it starts tonight. Here's what I want you to do at the next meal before any changes. Just watch. When the dog that steals finishes his bowl, count mentally how many seconds it takes before he moves toward the other dog's food. Don't do anything. Just count. That number is going to tell you how automatic the behavior already is, and it's going to give you a real measure of progress once you start applying the 3 adjustments. Tell me in the comments. How many seconds was it? And which one is the thief in your house? I read every single one. And next week, I'm bringing a video about what happens when the dog being stolen from starts pushing back.